Yo, what's up? Prince Sports here. I want to say shout out to everybody. How you doing today? Um, I want to get down to three legends again. I want to break down who beat more tougher competition and who faced against more 60-win teams and 50-win teams. Okay, and the contest is between Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, LeBron James, three of the biggest stars in NBA history, arguably, in modern day. So this is why people always focus on those three stars, because they seem to be the three alphas, so to speak. That's the most famous from the 80s and up. So I'm not counting 70s and below. I'm doing for when I got started, which was from the 80s to now. Anything else, I don't add the rest of those in. I'm only adding those guys, three guys. So I'm going to start off with MJ, Mr. Michael Jeffrey Jordan. Okay? Now, Jordan, 60-win teams, Jordan beat. All right? Jordan 7-2 against 60-win teams. All right? 86, Boston Celtics, Jordan got swept to a team that won 67 games, lost 15. So that's his first 60-plus team that he lost to. Okay, he got swept, actually, by those Boston Celtics. All right. 1988, the Bulls lost to the Detroit Pistons. All right. That series was 4-2. The Detroit Pistons that year won 63 games, lost 19. Eastern Conference Finals, Bulls got there, but they lost. All right. So that's two losses for Michael Jordan. All right. 1993 season, the Bulls beat a 62 team. Not 62 team, a team that won 60 plus games, but actually at 60 and 22. All right. That was the New York Knicks. Knicks was projected to be a championship contending team that season. Bulls prevent Patrick Ewing from winning the championship, win the series, and 4-2. One superstar Jordan prevented from having the championship was Patrick Ewing. He didn't get to eat under Michael Jordan. All right. What's the next one? 1996, I believe. The Bulls beat, who they beat in 1996? They beat the Orlando Magic, swept them. Orlando Magic won 60 games, lost 22. The Bulls swept them. So that's another win for Michael Jordan. That same year, Gary Payton and the Seattle Supersonics with Sean Kemp, Detlef Schrempf, all those boys. They went 60, how many was it? 64 wins. I think they had like 18 losses. And the Bulls beat them. So Bulls beat two 60 plus teams in one season, 1996. Another win for Michael Jordan. 1997, the Bulls beat the Miami Heat. Y'all remember that Miami Heat was projected as being the championship contending team that year. They won 60 plus games. Michael Jordan prevents, the Miami Heat from going to the finals. This was conference finals, 1997. All right, another win for Michael Jordan. That same year, 1997, Jordan beats the Utah Jazz. Utah Jazz was 64-18. Michael Jordan prevents Karl Malone from winning his first championship. The very next season, 1998, the Bulls play against a 62-20 team. Utah Jazz again. Bulls prevent Bulls prevent Karl Malone from winning another championship 2 years in a row. So Jordan's record, 7-2, when it comes to beating 60-plus teams. Okay? Now, let's put some closed capture on this, because stats don't tell the whole story, right? We're going to do this for all three of these guys. All right? Jordan ran into some historic teams, okay, whether it was the Celtics, the Pistons, okay? And in later years, he was able to push the Pistons to 7 games, all right? But they still lost. He was still able to push them to 7 games in 1990. Still couldn't get over the hump, though. 1986 is the one series that he got swept in. And that goes on his record. Nevertheless, he was playing against a less inferior team. And, they had no business even being in the same discussion with that Boston Celtic team, because they were an 8th seed, and they get waxed out of there by a top seed in the Boston Celtics. So complete different story. But I'm gonna tell you how that relates to another superstar later on. All right, and it's actually a point for that other superstar and not a point for Michael Jordan. Okay. Now, Jordan did go on to win 6 championships, but keep in mind, Jordan went into every playoff series with all his team fully attacked. Okay, some other superstars was dealt a perfect hand in going into the finals. Jordan was. Okay, this guy, in order to win a championship, a lot of things have to line up just perfectly. And fortunately for Mike, he was able to close the deal with his talent as well, but he also had a good team backing him up, because winning a championship is a team accomplishment. I'm not taking that away. But he went there with all of his weapons fully intact, ready to load. The same can't be said for some of these two other superstars that I'm mentioning, and I'm gonna show you that later on when I get up to them. All right, but nevertheless, at the end of the day, he got the job done. And that led to him winning all those chips. All right, so that's Michael Jordan's record, 7-2. Now we're gonna go on to the next one. Okay, round 2. Ding, ding, ding. Let the bell begin. All right, round 2. The second contender is Lebron James. Okay, now LeBron's record against 60 win plus teams is 3-4. Okay, has more losses than wins, but let's break them down, and then we're gonna put them in perspective as usual. Okay, 2008, LeBron goes up against who would be the champions of 2008, Boston Celtics. All right, against more than one All-Star, LeBron pushes this team to 7 games. Okay, that's definitely impressive, no matter how you look at it. Okay, for a guy to push that team with no other All-Stars on the team, to push them to 7 games, to a deciding 7th game, is big. And him and Paul Pierce went tit for tat. Okay, they went at each other. All right, and it was just a situation of may the best person win, best team win as well. But LeBron went out firing. He scored 45 in that game. All right, now then it goes on to 2011. LeBron joins the Miami Heat, but they go up against the Chicago Bulls team with a surging MVP, Derrick Rose. That team won 62 games and 20 losses. Okay, LeBron beats that team, so that's a 60-plus team that he beat. All right, now we go into 2014. They go up against the San Antonio Spurs. San Antonio Spurs won 62 games, lost 20. That's 2014 season. LeBron loses to them in the finals. 2015, LeBron goes up against the Golden State Warriors. Okay, this Golden State Warriors team won 60 wins, 22 losses. All right, that's in the 82-game season. That's in 2015. All right, Steph Curry was the MVP that season. All right, and the Warriors were surging. LeBron goes to the finals, loses against them. All right, and you already know how that turns out. 2016, the Golden State Warriors win 73 games, lose 9 times. The Cavs go to the finals against them and beat them. So that's a win for LeBron. He beats a team that wins over 60-plus games, 73, sorry. Now, we go to 2016-2017 season. This is the year the Golden State Warriors go out and get Kevin Durant to add to a team that wins 60-plus wins the following 2 seasons. The previous season, they just won 73 games with a two-time MVP. All right, you add another superstar to that team, Kevin Durant, and you know the Cavs naturally lose to that team. Um, what they're supposed to. That team did went on to win 67 games that season. LeBron loses to that. Now it's time to put it in perspective. Okay, LeBron often found himself going up against the Warriors dynasty. Okay, that's another reason why this record is a little skewed. So now I also said Jordan went into every situation with a full deck. LeBron is the quite opposite. He wasn't dealt the perfect hand all the time. Okay, 2015, he's playing without two of his main stars, which is Kyrie Irving and Kevin Love. He managed to push them to 6 games, but keep in mind, all right, that 2015 they were up 2-1. Some argue that LeBron could have did something historic and beat that team. But if you look at the history of basketball, barely does a guy missing 2 of his second and third best player on the team win a championship. Okay, it'd be a different story if he had one of those guys. Then I would say it'd have been a little more winnable, at least. So that's a different story. Now, LeBron's record of being 3-4. Let's put this in perspective again. 50% of it is LeBron's fault. The other 50% is just the hand that he was dealt because of the situations that he was in. Okay, that 2008 Cavs team, they did push the Boston Celtics to 7 games, and it came down to the wire, so to speak. He could have closed that game out. He could have won that series, if you ask me. But they would have went on to play the winner would have went on to play the Detroit Pistons, and there's no telling what will happen after that. But he would at least had something over Michael Jordan, that he was able to beat a team that won 60-plus games with numerous All-Stars, something Jordan failed to do as well. But Jordan got swept. This case, LeBron didn't get swept. He pushed that team to the edge. So that's something that could have been on his resume. And another thing that's questionable is the 2015 and 2014. Okay, 2014, that Miami Heat team was a little old and beat up by then. LeBron was the only true prime player. You understand, back then, those 3 guys, Wade, Bosh, and LeBron, they ate up so much of the salary cap for the Miami Heat, they had to go out and get cheap veterans, okay, guys that would take cheap money to go and play in the finals, or to try to help them win. The rest of that team was just old and past their prime, but he still managed to get them to the finals, nevertheless. And you can make a case that he could have made that more of a series, even though he was averaging 28 points a game in that series. But you may say, oh, okay, what else could have he done? So that's a 50-50. If he put his foot on the Spurs' neck, and that 28 went to like 35 or 40 a game, Jordan had a series where he averaged 40 a game. Maybe the result may be a little different because he would have been applying so much pressure to that that Spurs team, that they could have probably pulled it off. So 2008, 2014, and 2015 are questionable on LeBron's resume. He could have ate on 3 of those years. This is why people look at his resume the way they do, because a lot of people think that he left some championships on the table. But the other 50%, if you add to that, the vice versa to that is that he went not playing with a full deck anyway, on certain situations, because either guys were hurt or they were too old. All right, but we can't use any excuses. The record is the record, 3-4 against 60-plus teams for LeBron James. Now let's move on to the next guy. All right, I want to get to the last guy in this contest, none other than Kobe Bean Bryant, the Black Mamba. All right. Now, unfortunately for Kobe, he has the lowest um, record when it comes to beating 60-win teams. And it's actually lower than what you think. So I'm going to get into all of that right now. Kobe Bryant's record against 60 plus teams um, that won 60 plus games is 2-5. Okay, that's the lowest out of all of them. All right, in 1997, they lost to the Utah Jazz, 4 games to 1. Kobe wasn't demanding; he was a baby, but it's still getting hold on his record. Because you guys, some of you guys like trying to give him credit for being a number 2 for a lot of things, but doesn't add on to your legacy too much. What put Kobe over the top and put him in the top 10 for me is the fact that he won 2 championships without Shaq. If he didn't win those 2 championships without Shaq, which was more important, the most important championships in his whole career, his legacy probably wouldn't even be a top 10. You know, he'd just have been a guy collecting up good numbers. But let's go back to it. 1998, they lost again to the same team. Utah Jazz won 60 plus games. The Jazz was 62-20. All right, they beat the Lakers again. Now keep this year into mind. This was a special year. 3 teams won 60 plus games in 1998. All right, the Lakers, Seattle Supersonics, and the Utah Jazz. All right, and the Lakers knocked off one of those 60 plus teams, which was the Seattle Supersonics. All right, they knocked them off. Then they go on to face the Utah Jazz and lose to that 60 plus team. So they get a point for losing and winning in the same year. All right, but let's move forward. 2002 classic battle with the Sacramento Kings that goes to 7 games. Sacramento won 60 plus games. They lost to the Lakers in the 7-game series. Robert Horry saved the Lakers with that clutch shot. Something nobody talks about that much. Shaq and Kobe wouldn't have another championship if it wasn't for Robert Horry hitting that last fatal shot. But again, we like to point other stuff out for other players, and I've been telling people, role players always saves superstars at one point because it's a team game. All right. 2003, Lakers lose to the San Antonio Spurs, 60 plus team. 2007, they lose to the Phoenix Suns. Kobe Bryant is the leader of his own team, so he gets full credit for this one. And they lose. 2008, Lakers lose to Boston Celtics with 66-16. And that team, Boston Celtics beat the Lakers in 6 games. They beat them down. The one game, I think Game 6, the final game, they beat them by like 30 plus points, which was one of the largest margins in a finals game. So now let's break this down a little bit. Okay, some of those I'm gonna give like 50% credit to Kobe because one of them came at the expense of being number 2 to Shaq. So I'm gonna give him 50% for that. So technically, if you want to be technical about it, he's really like 1-5 actually. He should get 1-5 because he only beat 160 plus team in the playoffs as being the number 1 leader of his own team. And that's a fact, But nevertheless, I'm gonna keep it official. I'm gonna add him coming off the bench or not even being the starter. I never seen we're going crazy over or trying to give credit to a player that was coming off the bench when he first got drafted into the league. And you guys act like he was a starter or something like that. And you're gonna give a guy coming off the bench full credit when he wasn't even the best player on the team or considered the number 1 on the team. It doesn't go that way. Basketball doesn't get viewed that way. You have to be there only could be one captain of the team. And at that time, Shaq was the biggest player on the team, the biggest free agent on the team. It is what it is. But nevertheless, Kobe's 2-5. We're gonna leave it at that. All right. So now we're gonna get to 50 win teams. Who beat the most 50 win teams? Okay, you're gonna find this one amazing. Kobe Bryant has the most wins at under the beating the 50 club, 50 win club. He has the most, but I'm gonna break that down in perspective because guess what? Stats don't tell the whole story. Michael Jordan is 20-7, and LeBron James is 10-9. All right, so let's start off with Kobe Bryant. All right, Kobe, as I said, 15 of those 25 wins came at the expense of 1996 to the end of Shaq's run. So Kobe wasn't the best player on the team. So those 15 wins give more credit to Shaq than Kobe because that was Shaq's team, not Kobe's. Because if you're gonna do that, then you had to put Scottie Pippen as one of the best players of all time. He got 6 championships. I don't hear none of you guys saying Scottie Pippen's the greatest basketball player of all time. Why? It's because he was a number 2. All right. So you're gonna be fair with that. We're gonna be fair with this. Technically, Kobe's really 10-10 against 50 club teams. So that means LeBron James and Kobe's really more tied. So when you hear all these biased haters say, Kobe beat more 50-win teams. Technically, he did not as a leader of his own team. He's 10-10. LeBron James is 10-9. Okay, with the chance of beating more 50-point win clubs as his career continues. Technically, his career would have been 11-9 if he beat the Chicago Bulls in the 2012 playoffs. Okay, keep in mind that was a shortened season, but nevertheless, Bulls still won 50 games. And if the Miami Heat played them in 2012, LeBron would have had them on his resume to beat. But the most impressive guy out of this whole bracket is Michael Jordan, because he was the number 1 throughout the whole run of beating these 50-point club teams. And as being the number 1, he's 20-7. Okay, 20 wins, 7 losses, which is more impressive than both LeBron and Kobe, who just breaking even under 50%. All right, so these are just facts, these are stats, and that's 100% proof. So Jordan wins the 60 point club, well, the 60 team club, and he wins the 50 club. So Jordan beat more 60 point teams, more 60 win teams, sorry, and more 50 win teams than both of those guys. All right, if you want to put it in hindsight and break it down accordingly to his stats. Peace. Leave your comment down below.